from the closed session this evening, so there's nothing to report. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for any person desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda over which this board has jurisdiction. Please be advised, however, the Brown Act prohibits action on items that are not listed on the agenda or properly added to the agenda under the provisions of the Brown Act. Board members may, however, respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the podium and state your name for the record before making your comments. Do we have any public comments this evening?
Just real quick, this is Bill Syverson. I just wanted to give the board and the general manager a quick update on where we are with advocating for this Measure A. A letter went out that I think many people got, about 1,800 residents, 19. We do have banners en route, large banners, and then I have a couple from my friends. I've spoken to, what's his name? Mark Milano. He owns the large ranches here. Banner up there on the intersection of Stallion Drive and Banducci. It's great for those making it right. And then another one farther up Banducci for those that live in the west side of Stallion. I do have about 100 yard signs. If somebody wants a yard sign, I have someone in my vehicle tonight. If someone comes to you and says, hey, where can I get one of those yellow yard signs? You can forward, just tell them to give the CSD a call. They have my number and email address, and I'll be happy to, or they'll reach out to me and or you and I'll get a yard sign. And, yeah, I was just talking to Director Duell, and I think maybe try to get something out during the month of July to kind of really hammer home some points. And I really am hoping a big turnout as well as town hall. I really want to these letters out for that. Make sure some people show up and kind of get educated, on what's going on. And I don't want people to grab the ballot and just, if they're not sure what's going on, you can vote yes or no. Please, let's all get them educated so they make a good choice. That's all I have.
Thank you. And what time is the town hall tomorrow evening?
6.
6. Okay, thank you.
Bill, real quick, what kind of a turnout, or what action did you get at the car show on Saturday?
Not what I hoped for, but I did get some.
Okay.
I handed out 17 yard signs. Oh, by the way, the yard signs are free. I'm not charging for them. If they weren't free, I'm not charging for them. Unfortunately, I did not get the frames that support the sign with the signs. I got those one day yesterday. So for 17, I'm going to get out to the residents that pick up signs tomorrow. Sold some shirts, the shirts that we have here. Gave some of those away. I saw a lot of people, they looked and read and then just kind of went on their way. And I get it. It's the same question we've all been struggling with this last several months. How do you reach the young people? The folks can get up at 5, go to work 10 hours, come home, eat dinner, help kids with homework, go to bed, go to sleep, repeat. I don't know. But at least there were quite a few people there at the car show entering and walking around between the two parking lots so they saw it. And so I'm hoping, my real hope is that that letter, which they got yesterday or today, oh, that's what that was about. And I'm hoping people will come, your neighbors and whatnot will come to you, hey, I want to get one of those, you know that guy, how do I get that yard sign? Just put it as get in touch with me.
Great, thank you for the efforts.
Bill, when the infamous
mid-century bank robber Willie Sutton was asked, why did he rob banks? He purportedly answered, that's where the money is. In the case of Measure A, the banks are the properties and the money is in the boats. I want to thank you and your merry band of advocators in going after the money.
Very well.
Thank you. Did we have any other announcements this evening or comments this evening? Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to item number 6, which is our police report. Chief?
Good evening, committee members, Madam General Manager, Board of Directors. Hope you're all doing well. For the month of 2025, we did lose an officer, so we have been doing all this work with extreme staffing levels. We had 7 arrests, which were all proactivity. There were not any from calls for service. And I'll go ahead and give a synopsis of those calls or those arrests. We did have 11 citations, 115 reports, 152 calls for service. We did have 9 investigations. We did have 7 assists, mostly with Kern County Fire with medical aids. And we did perform 7 vacation house checks. Again, with the knowledge of our officers, one of our officers was on patrol and observed a vehicle that appeared to be suspicious. The officer ran the license plate and what in our profession is called cold-plated, meaning it's usually coming from another vehicle, so oftentimes stolen. The officer staked out the area until it started to move, and then they conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. There was a 20-year-old female who was an unlicensed driver who also had cocaine and drug paraphernalia in their possession. The 19-year-old male passenger, some that we've arrested 12 times in the last 3 years, he was under the influence of a controlled substance, also was in possession of drug paraphernalia, and had an open container of alcohol, of which he has probation terms for both of those items. There was also an additional traffic stop on a vehicle with registration expired over 2 years. The 71-year-old male did have suspected methamphetamine in his pocket. We also have had contact with that individual, and because we live in the state of California, we cited and released the subject on a promise to appear. We did arrest a 57-year-old male with an active felony warrant. He was located outside of his residence. We made contact with him and arrested him without incident. He was transported to Lerdo. There was another additional traffic stop on a felony warrant subject. A search of the vehicle was located methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia, and an unsecured marijuana container adjacent to his 3-year-old child. The 43-year-old male was arrested for possession of the controlled substance, possession of hard drugs with priors, and open container violation and felony cruelty to a child. This subject has 5 cases with Stallion Springs PD, and he is finally being held at Lerdo long-term until his next court hearing next month. Probation search resulted in a misdemeanor warrant. He was cited and released. An additional driver was stopped and cited for not having a driver's license and having expired registration. I do want to take a moment to talk about our town halls. We have 3 left. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the community center will be our most recent. I've asked for some favors, so I do not know if I will have a guest speaker, but I certainly will have one in July, to my understanding. My concern is there's still a lot of misinformation going out in the community, with information that either is being spread by community members who do not have the facts from our town hall meetings, or have received the information during our committee meetings, which was basically the fact gathering period of time, where we had our select group of cross-section of professionals from our community to gather all that information to give to our staff so we can present it at our town hall meetings. We can't force people to attend town halls. We can just obviously offer them. But I'm hearing a lot of information. Certainly one, and I hope it's not repeated, I want to correct that, is the 7 officers. That was brought up early on in the process. And that is not correct. Right now, we are at extreme staffing levels. We are just trying to get to a point where we can function and have some rest. I'm very tired. I'm very weary. And what I'm about to say is my words and my words only. The Community Service District Board of Directors has been extremely supportive of this measure. The General Manager has worked tirelessly with this measure, and my advocacy group has worked tirelessly on this measure. But we have 39 days until they're in the mail. If you care about the police department, your voice needs to be heard. We are on the brink as a police department. I am not telling you that to be dramatic. I'm telling you that because that's a fact. If we do not have this measure passed, we have a very distinct possibility that your police department will close. So regardless if it's a traffic condition, a neighbor dispute, whatever it may be, get the facts and make the best decision that you think you make for yourself as well as this community. But get the facts. I am always here as much as I can. I am living and breathing and dying for you. So you can never say that the general manager or the police chief or the committee or even the board of directors have not been able to answer any questions that you may have. But if you want to be educated to make that decision for your community, please come to town hall meetings. Get the facts. We don't have much time left. I do also want to address some other concerns that we have in the community is school is out. Awkward transition, I know. We had an increase of juvenile activity. Our park park bathrooms were vandalized, and due to the tirelessly efforts of not only the police department, actually it was more of additional staff, where we went through hours and hours of footage to try to get the people responsible, and I'm happy to say that we did find them. Unfortunately, they're very young juveniles, usually fairly well behaved. But we're definitely seeing an increase in juvenile issues again. That was the day school was let out, ironically. But we have had a gigantic increase in illegal bikes on the road. We have talked to these juveniles and some of their parents, and yet it's still continuing. I have written a letter that will probably be in the next bridge, and I have also written an additional letter to parents, educating them on the legalities of such vehicles on the roadway. But we did have 2 traffic collisions that were not reflected on this report, but were included in the report section, just not in the synopsis. One juvenile did get into a collision with a moving vehicle, and there was an additional bicyclist who had major injuries, and we actually had assistance on that. So again, as your department head, I take these things very seriously, and I know, again, people can be very critical of what we may or may not be doing. But it takes a community to help us, help you. If we do not get our juveniles under control with these illegal bikes, someone is going to get hurt, if not worse. So we are trying to do everything we can by educating, stopping, but at some point we will be stopping and impounding these bicycles. Again, you may think that this is very minor, and again, the last thing I want to do is possibly sway a voter for doing my job, but more importantly, my job and my staff's job is to keep the community safe. So if you see someone say something, report it in a timely manner. Obviously, these infractions and sometimes misdemeanors have to be observed by the officer themselves. But I just have grave concern of their safety, because if I would have had the ability to have the same devices at that age, I would have probably done the same thing. But with that said, they are left to their own devices and have done some very positive things in our community, but we can't overlook the illegal activity and the safety issue. Because again, it might not be their safety. Someone could try to avoid them and then get hurt. So again, if you see something, please report it to our departments through the Kern County Sheriff's Dispatch, and we will like to address that. And as of right now, we have identified at least 8 juveniles who have these illegal bikes. And I won't get into what I've also seen with the adults, but at this point, we're just trying to deal with one thing at a time. Does anyone have any questions?
They're not street legal, correct?
They are not street legal.
Okay. I noticed some where had modifications where they don't even have pedals on them anymore, and they've got flare fenders, and they look like dirt bikes, and they can be mistaken for dirt bikes even. So, very interesting what they're doing with them.
So the letter that I put in the bridge, or we're going to have at the next bridge, it really was trying to address it in a nice way as the e-bikes. We're not really seeing the e-bikes as the issue. It's they're off-road vehicles, electric. They can only be used on private property or on areas that are designated for such. So they're not even supposed to be on the main roads. It's a tremendous amount of power. They can reach speeds of 50 miles an hour. So again, can you imagine anyone in this room not having, a lot of experience or even a driver's license, having that power in their capacity is very dangerous. So again, we're trying to come at it as education, friendly, but at some point we will enforce the law, the letter of the law. But thank you for bringing that up.
Appreciate it. Were there any questions for Chief? Yes.
I just want to let you know.
Can you come up to the front, do you mind, please? Thank you.
Just to let you know, they're up and down Man of War all the time, doing at least 40 miles an hour, and on the back wheel most of the time. Mm-hmm. So, you know how close that is to here, Man of War.
Yes.
So, you might want to keep an eye on it over there.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Chief or comments? Okay. If there's no more questions or comments, we need a motion to receive and file our police report.
I make a motion that we receive and file the police report.
We have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board or an audience member requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. There are 5 items on the consent calendar this evening: approval of the minutes of the May 2025 board meeting, review of financial reports, approval of checks for May 2025, approval of CalPERS retirement payments, and review of well production report. Were there any items that needed to be isolated and removed? Okay, if there are none, then we need a motion for the consent calendar.
I make a motion to receive and file the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. The next item on our agenda is the presentation by Optimized Investment Partners. The board is to hear a presentation by Optimized Investment Partners and consider a contract for their services.
Great. Good evening, Laura and Board of Directors. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you this evening. I'll have Brittany share her screen. Let us know if you can see that as soon as it's up. Can everybody see that okay?
We're trying. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. And Laura, as we had talked earlier today, just so you know, this is going to look a little different than the presentation in the packet. We just want to make sure we give you a very comprehensive presentation this evening. We'll give you a copy of this as well at the end of the meeting, so you have copies. All right, so we'll jump in. So in this presentation, we're going to discuss a few key topics. First, we will explain the investment requirements set by the government code and your investment policy. Second, we will discuss industry practices and what sets us apart. And third, we'll show you how our services can fit your needs and go through some examples. So first up is public agency investment requirements. The California Government Code has specific rules we're all supposed to follow as fiduciaries, like the prudent person standard, meaning we must look out for the public dollar first and foremost. We must always put your interest before our own. It's really about the safety of principle, and we're here to add a layer of expertise to what you've been doing all along. So on the screen here is a list of permitted investments. I won't go through each of these investments, but the biggest question that boards and councils usually have is how do we make sure your money's safe? For newer clients like yourself, we don't recommend going out on the risk spectrum at all. We focus on investments that are fully backed by the faith of the federal government, that have implied backing by the federal government, are covered by FDIC insurance, or are fully collateralized like LAIF. The yeses listed here are what we recommend to utilize since these have the lowest level of risk. And Laura, this matches the proposed investment policy that we put together for the district. Just a little tidbit of information for you on that. This slide shows the investment types that we don't initially recommend you utilize. These are all fully authorized under the current government code, and you are allowed to invest in all of these options, but ultimately it's up to the district on how risky you want to get with your overall portfolio. We don't recommend taking that additional risk at this point in time. I'm going to hand it over to Brittany for a few minutes, and then we'll jump into some additional information.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. So what we do is optimize your investment returns. Our expertise protects your funds and ensures full regulatory compliance. We also save you time by handling your investment policy, your reports, and staying current on regulations. OIP follows best practices from the California Municipal Treasurers Association, CMTA, the leading authority in public fund treasury management. These include transparent quarterly reporting, comprehensive laddering strategies, annual investment policy reviews, and the optimal investment of liquid funds. This slide contrasts common approaches with OIP's unique strategies. Many small municipalities use passive portfolios that prioritize liquidity, but face high interest rate risk and no guaranteed revenue. Active management adds diversification, but often ignores municipal complexities. OIP's innovation combines CMTA's best practices with customized cash flow modeling and cash management for an optimally laddered portfolio. What we do takes more work, but delivers optimized returns and individualized service. So in the last slide, I mentioned our secret sauce, cash flow modeling and cash management. Without considering the cash flow at all, most advisors will ask, how much would you like to invest? To which the district, not the hired expert, will say the minimum amount that they're most comfortable with. On this graph, the blue line represents the cash flow model of an actual OIP client. A typical investment advisor would invest what's below the red line, leaving $35 million between the red line and the blue line idle. By utilizing the OIP advantage, we can create $1.5 million in additional investment revenue, and that's our secret. We believe that how much you keep invested is more important than what you invest in. So to create your cash flow model, we analyzed your historical data, your budget, your CIP programming, and financial statements to minimize uninvested funds. This critical information allows us to optimize your returns. Now let's discuss safety and risk. A common misconception is that keeping funds liquid is safest. Investment pools are currently performing exceptionally well, but these rates aren't guaranteed to last. OIP helps you lock in today's rates for longer through strategic laddering of long-term investments. When we say long-term, we typically invest about 70% of your funds for 1 to 5 years while keeping about 30% liquid. Our deep understanding of your district's cash flows allows us to time maturities to when funds are needed, creating a secondary liquidity stream. So while other municipalities that are passive and liquid may need to adjust their interest income budgets downward as rates decline, your district can secure predictable and guaranteed income streams for years to come. So to emphasize the importance of a laddering strategy, we pulled the historical performances of 3 investment types: 1-month Treasury notes in blue, which is comparable to CAMP, LEAF in orange, and 5-year Treasury notes in green. This chart illustrates the value of a $10 million investment from 2002 to now, showing several notable patterns. Following the 2008 financial crisis, there was a dramatic drop across all yields, with 1-month Treasury notes falling essentially to zero, while 5-year Treasury notes fell less dramatically. The pandemic's impact in 2020 created another sharp decline to near zero yields, with the 5-year ladder still producing more stable returns. Typically, recessions are unpredictable. Once they start, you don't have time to readjust your portfolio. Being prepared with a laddering approach will deliver steadier, more reliable interest income across varying interest rate environments, particularly during low rate periods. I believe Rob had some comments to emphasize here.
Yeah, Laura, I know you had received some information via email, and I wanted to touch on it on this screen. So liquid investment pools such as LEAF and CAMP are valuable tools for managing municipal funds, offering really a combination of safety, liquidity, and competitive yields. These pools are designed to help agencies optimize returns on idle cash while ensuring funds remain accessible when needed. To give the district a little bit of color, because I know there were some questions about LEAF. So when you look at LEAF has a weighted average maturity of about 7.7 months as of April. They haven't provided May data yet. So what that means is the average investment is going to mature in about a little more than 7 months. CAMP, on the other hand, maintains a weighted average maturity of about a month right now, or as of April's data as well, it was about 33 days. By utilizing both LEAF and CAMP in a coordinated strategy, municipalities can effectively balance the need for liquidity with the goal of maximizing interest income. There was also a question about the composition of LEAF. So there are some very similar components between LEAF and CAMP. But to give you an idea, as of April month end, a little more than 55% of LAIF's investment portfolio was allocated to U.S. Treasuries, and about 25% with federal agencies. There were a few more pockets of investments, such as CDs that made up about 9%, and commercial paper that made up about 7%. CAMP was similar. They had U.S. government agencies and treasuries around 50%. CDs made up a little bit larger percentage of that investment portfolio of around 25%. All of this is to really say the very safe and secure investments on the conservative side that we would initially recommend for your district are also contained in these two other investment vehicles. So hopefully that adds some color to the questions you had sent over this morning, and we can get into more detail at the end of the presentation if that helps. I'll hand it back over to you, Brittany.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Sure.
All right, so what does this mean for your district? Based on the financial data that we have, we see that you have about $6.1 million in the total balance, with about $400,000 in checking and $5.8 million in the county pool. Your fiscal year 2023-2024 interest earned was just over $91,000. Our estimated first-year revenue projection for your district is about $227,000. Our year one anticipated interest revenue added by partnering with OIP is $44,000, and in year two, $67,000. Our services that we've summarized today, which will help you secure approximately $227,000 in interest income just in the first year alone, increase the safety of your portfolio, keeps you in compliance, and saves you time, only costs the district about $800 per month, which is 25 basis points on the first $3 million and 10 basis points on all additional assets under management. We've covered a lot today and appreciate your time. On the screen here are some questions that we typically hear from districts like yours. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for any questions you may have about OIP's investment strategies or how we can help optimize the district's returns.
Thank you for that. Before we go into any questions here, I just wanted to give a little bit of background to the reason that our general manager brought this to us. So the district has historically kept all of our funds at the County of Kern. The interest earned is an average of 2%. And always looking for improvements in income, moving funds to higher yielding account is in the best interest of the district. Optimized Investment Partners was recommended by Golden Hills CSD. There was an email attached in our package, and the Tehachapi Cummings County Water District. Optimized Investment Partners have given us a presentation to the board via Zoom this evening. And Laura Lynn, did you want to expound on that before we answer any questions?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I can tell you that based on some presentations and conversations I've had with the general managers of those other districts, they've been extremely satisfied with their performance, and they have seen very, very significant income improvement on the interest that they've earned by diversifying the funds and not leaving 100% of their funds at the County of Kern. And that is why I wanted to bring it before the board this evening. And I'm sure if the board has any questions, I know that Robert and his team are more than prepared to answer them. They serve a lot of clients. These two of them just happen to be our neighbors, but they serve special districts throughout the state of California.
And there's a list of those districts in the packet.
In your board packet, yes, including the city of Arvin as well.
Are there any questions?
I think one question I had, I hate to be a curmudgeon here, what's the risk involved from switching from the county to OIP?
And Robert, you can probably help me here, but I wouldn't recommend 100% pulling from the county. I would recommend leaving some money at the county still. mainly for fast, access. But, of our capital improvement funding, things like that, I can see that being moved and then in some cases, at least doubling the interest income that we're receiving on that money. Robert?
Yeah, no, we appreciate, great question. So really, there really isn't a risk per se for the district. It would really boil down to our approach would not only have both a short-term and a long-term investment component, where that short-term would provide for your more immediate liquidity needs. So we would want to minimize the amount of money that's left in the district and make sure that you have enough money for your operational and your day-to-day expenses. But for anything else, we can put a significant amount of money in investment options such as CAMP that will provide the district with same-day liquidity. As long as it's done by, I believe, 10:30 in the morning, you have access to those funds. So rather than getting subpar returns on a larger percentage of the portfolio, you could have that money in what I'll call almost like a checking account on steroids. It operates in the same fashion, and you have the ability to withdraw funds same day. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Not only do you get the liquidity of having, a minimal amount of funds in the county to keep that relationship going, but you also have the short-term component in a few other options such as CAMP, as well as the long-term component where you have locked-in interest rate. You can budget knowing a large percentage of your overall investment portfolio is going to have guaranteed returns until maturity. So hopefully that answers your question, board member.
I'm missing, what, is it CAMP or HAMP? What that is?
CAMP.
Definition, please?
Sure. That is a JPA pool. Think of it like a account for municipalities to invest surplus funds into. So are you familiar with LATE?
Yes.
It operates in the same manner. They just have investments in the CAMP program that have a shorter duration.
All right,
but they operate almost in the same capacity as for your short-term needs.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question. These, I think, were presented, but I didn't hear them or they went by too quickly. What exactly are the laddering funds? What is their risk? Can you describe this?
Sure. David, did you want to jump in on that?
Yeah,
I think you had a slide up there, but I didn't get all of them.
Sure,
yeah.
No problem.
One of the aspects of risk is, having all of your eggs in one basket or diversifying. So if you were to go to an investment advisor for your own money, they would say it's safer to invest in a lot of different companies or a lot of different investments over a period of time rather than putting it all in one. This is very similar. So a laddered strategy means we're going to take very small amounts of the district's money and we're going to invest it in individual treasuries, agencies, CDs over a 5-year period. So 100,000 here, 100,000 there, all aligned with when the district needs the money the most. So that allows us to keep our long-term strategy. So imagine $800,000 parsed out over 4 or 5 months, maybe $100,000 to $200,000 per month. In the month that you need the cash, each year in years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That serves the purpose of diversifying over time, diversifying over investment type, and like Rob said, guaranteeing that overall rate of return. So your risk of the portfolio will actually drop significantly once you have a full ladder because you're going to be invested in about 25 different investments over a 5-year period, along with a significant cushion in either LATE or CAMP or some other JPA pool that's going to give you far higher yields than the county and same-day liquidity. So let me know if that all makes sense.
What are the other investments, the riskier investments you referred to, other than T-bills and CDs?
Yeah, we didn't add any to your investment policy recommendations, and we're not recommending any of those at this time. So everything on your screen right now that has a recommended permitted investment, they all have backing or implied backing by the federal government, or it's backed by the collateral itself, which is the cash. So every other thing on the next page, these are common investment types for municipalities. Like if you wanted to invest in the city of Arvin issues bonds and you want to invest in them, that is something that's permitted in the California Government Code. We're just wanting to make sure that the board is comfortable with us and the process of laddering before we start to introduce any potential risk to the portfolio. We'd rather you all feel very comfortable that it's the safest portfolio possible. And then if you want to try to get a little bit more yield, we can recommend some additional investment types that may be able to provide a bit more yield with a bit more risk.
Meaning that this board will be asked before we go into riskier investments?
We are recommending an investment policy that does not allow us to recommend anything on this screen. It only allows us to recommend investments on the prior screen, which is treasuries, agencies, CDs, and those pooled funds that we talked about several times, LAIF, CAMP, CLASS, CalTrust. So you are the policy makers, and we're not going to violate anything you tell us to do. But we do have clients that say, we're ready to take on a little bit more risk. We'd like to invest in medium-term notes or California municipal bonds. And certainly we help them. We modify their investment policy for them. We let them know and educate them on what those investments entail. A AAA investment in Toyota Motor Corp or Bank of America is not inherently very risky, but it's more risky than the federal government because they can't print money. There is a chance of default. It's just extremely low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I have one other question. Again, I know this was mentioned, but it sort of garbled to me. How are you guys making money off of this?
Yeah, so we mentioned our fee, and we'll try to keep it simple. Based upon managing about $6 million, the fee is about $800 a month. It's going to ebb and flow a tiny bit based upon your balance that we're managing. We use a term called assets under management. That's how much money we're helping you invest. So maybe that number is around $5.5 million that we'll be facilitating recommendations on. And we make 25 basis points, which is 0.25% on the first $3 million, and then 10 basis points, which is 0.1% on all assets above $3 million. So that all works out to about $800 a month.
Thank you. One more question about the slide that's up now, revenue projections. Why in year one, after an initial positive of 227, are we at 44, and then the next year 67? I'm not understanding what's going on there.
Yeah, this slide can certainly be confusing, so let me try to provide the context. So what we're saying is that from today, over the next year, we expect to be able to get the district about $227,000 in revenue based upon today's rates. If the district didn't hire OIP, you'd be able to subtract about $44,000 from that. So if you subtracted 44 from the 227, you'd make about 183 staying with the county over the next year. That's based upon their current performance and our projected performance. And then the county is going to continue to underperform an active managed portfolio because as interest rates drop, they don't have as good of a portfolio design as one for you. When we're able to customize it for you, we're able to go out to that 3, 4, and 5 year spectrum, and they don't do that as much. And so we estimate that you would end up getting revenues about $67,000 less than the 227, or about $160,000. So those numbers are, they're kind of, in one context, it's how much we think that we're going to be able to add by partnering with you. And the other context is how much in the first year is our projection for total revenue for the district.
Thank you for the clarifications.
Absolutely.
And David, Robert, this is Laura. As I mentioned in some of the background documents that I gave the board, right now the county of Kern, their interest is just, I think, a hair under 2%. You will probably know better than I do. But can you share with the board some of the interest rates that you're typically seeing for some of your clients right now?
Absolutely, and Laura, you're correct. Probably the last time you looked at the county, they were in that 2% range. They have been going up quite a bit, so they're at about 3.5 now at the county. So that's why our projection says if you stayed with the county, you're gonna earn more than you did last year because the interest rates have come up quite a bit. For our liquid investment recommendations, we've mentioned two names tonight several times. Camp is about 4.39%. So almost 80 basis points or 0.75% higher with easier liquidity than even the county. Leif is sitting at about 4.25, 4.25, 4.27. So again, significantly above the yields at the county. And then for our long-term portfolio, rates today are sitting around 3.85 to 3.95. Why that's important is because if we allocate, let's say, $3.5 million or $4 million of the district's money in that longer-term program, you're locking in those 3.8, 3.9% interest rates, which is well above the county. If the Federal Reserve lowers rates like they're anticipated to lower rates later this year, like they did last year, then what's going to happen is the county pool is going to be reinvesting money at lower yields. You guys are going to be locked in at better yields. So it's unlikely that the county will ever be able to overtake an actively managed portfolio for you because they have to remain fairly liquid. So a little bit more of their investment money is invested shorter term and some legacy investments in there that are very low interest rates. So you get the best of both worlds, being able to move money in and out, and so you're not going to be locked into anything at a low rate, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments?
Who would be in charge of our strategy, our investment strategy?
So Robert and I would both be managing your account. Both of us are registered investment advisors, independent advisors. Both have done portfolios for all of our clients. So both of us will be on the assignment and will be supported by a team of accountants and analysts to help support kind of the back end gathering of data and reporting and things like that.
But that's in an advisory role. Who actually makes the decision?
So we would recommend, make recommendations to Laura, and Laura would give us the thumbs up or thumbs down on our recommendations, making sure that they're meeting your investment policy that's adopted and making sure it's in alignment with your budgets and financial statements and things like that. So we would be very mindful not to waste Laura's time and only bring investment recommendations to her that make sense. But just so the board's aware, the initial big lift is in the very beginning, which is moving that money out of the county and creating a diversified portfolio. So a lot of the investment advice is going to be right up front, and we're going to bring Laura along with us. We're going to meet with the broker-dealers. We're going to make sure that we have the process all dialed in. There's a comfort level from everybody involved. And then we're going to deploy the city's, a significant portion of the city's money into those investments. It's all going to happen fairly quickly in terms of the actual execution of it happens all in one day.
The last question, maybe even more of a statement than a question, is so if I understand the numbers correctly, it's going to cost us about $10,000 a year in the hopes of making some more money in investments. How does that stack against what we hope to make?
Well, what is the period of contract with OIP?
That's a great question. So all of our contracts come with a 30-day out clause. So at any point in time, if Laura's not happy or the board's not happy with our performance, you guys can end the relationship. We've never had a contract ended early, but we can go in any term that's comfortable with your district. So typically it's 1 to 3 years with optional years, but we are open because we're going to try to earn your business every single month. So whatever term is comfortable with the board and with Laura, we're happy to partner with you for that duration of time. And I think I heard the word hope. Once we are hired and as long as interest rates don't change dramatically in the week or two from contract execution to portfolio investment, we'd be locking in the number. So it wouldn't be hopeful anymore. It would be a reality very, very soon. So you would know within a couple of weeks that you're going to get that targeted revenue of 227 or close to that.
Questions, comments?
I have some familiarity with this in that I was attending TCCWD meetings when the general manager was discussing this, and after they acquired the services of OIP, and he was very satisfied with the result. For me, the issue now is the instability of the economy. And I very much appreciate that you said we could lock in within a couple of weeks, because this could be crucial.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, thank you.
I think I brought this to the board today because I feel like a critical role of my position is to constantly be searching for income. You're aware of what our budget looks like, and I don't, at the risk of sounding unprofessional, we're looking at interest rates that are a minimum of double of what we're earning at the county, sometimes more. That's the amount of income that would mean the world to this district. We have aging infrastructure, vehicles that the police department can testify to the condition of their fleet at this time. I think the Public Works fleet is, the Public Works Director, Jim Burris, is driving the newest vehicle with almost 200,000 miles on it. So we need a plan. We need a plan moving forward. What's going to happen if our tractor, a critical piece of equipment, breaks and we don't have a built-up reserve? And this is one way that we can probably move forward and start to accomplish some of that long-term planning and set goals and understand we need a new tractor. This is the kind of interest we're earning, and start to put some funds in those buckets. And that's why I brought it to the board this evening. And as Director Duell mentioned, I have personally spoken with several of their clients, and they're all just singing their praises. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. Was there any other questions or comments? All right, we need a motion for approval of general manager to move forward with obtaining a contract for services from Optimized Investment Partners. The board sees fit.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the presentation, or going through with Optimized Investment Partners.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Thank you for that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, David, Brittany, thank you. Thank you. I know
Thank
it's
you
a
very
late
much.
evening for you.
You all have a good
We
evening.
look forward to talking with you soon. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to item number 9. Item number 9 on our agenda this evening is our public hearing for fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget. Get to that page here real quick, sorry. The district is required by the CSD Government Code to prepare a balanced budget each year. At the May 2025 Board of Directors meeting, a draft budget was presented, and subsequently, the notice of public hearing in regards to the budget was advertised in the paper. At this meeting, a public hearing is to be held, and then the board can discuss the ASI in regard to the budget being presented. A narrative for this budget was presented at the May meeting. Attached to our agenda is the overview budget sheet and budget breakdown, and availability electronically is a detailed budget that compares prior fiscal years. Along with the information mentioned above is a resolution that outlines the district's revenue and expenses in a bit different manner. The purpose of this resolution is to formally document the district's revenue, expenses, and various departments and services that are being provided. General Manager, would you like to expound?
So, first of all, I would like to just ask for just a little bit of patience with the technology side of things this evening. Our June board packet is quite healthy, and there's a lot of pages to get through. So if we sound a little bit lost or pause for a little bit, that's why. There's a lot tonight, so. I don't really have a lot to elaborate on, other than, you know, we did present the draft budget and opened it up for comment. There were no comments received. And we do, this is a requirement that we do this process every June. So you will go ahead and open the public hearing at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll open the public hearing. There were no written comments. Do we have anyone with verbal comments or questions from the public? If so, you're invited to come to the podium. Okay, if there are none, then we can close our hearing. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 12, which is approval of resolution number 2025.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I think there's a question from the audience. I apologize.
Is there a question? Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you.
I don't even know if I have a question. I'm only here because I received a letter that was I purchased a home here in February. There was a outstanding bill for CSE, and it's fallen on me for the tax assessment for, I think, this coming year. And I don't know if that's addressed now, or when it's becoming addressed. I don't know.
I'll let you take that.
Okay, so that would be off of this particular agenda item, and I would invite you to either stay after the meeting so I can get all of your information and I can research that for you, and we can take care of it.
The letter that I received said that there would be a public hearing today in regards to this matter.
Okay, so yes, that's later in the agenda. Okay? This is the budget part.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to item number 10, sorry, thank you. Board approval of resolution 2025-08, final budget, determining and declaration of the anticipated district revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 2025, 2026, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and establishing assessments relative thereto. Were there any questions or comments from the board? If none, we need a motion to approve resolution 2025-08, final budget.
I make a motion that the board approves resolution 2025-08, the final budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Item number 11 is public hearing, special tax, police protection services, public hearing for the special tax, $50 for police protection services for fiscal year 2025-2026. We are now opening hearing. Were there any written comments?
None received.
All right, at this time we invite to the podium any verbal comments, questions from the public? All right, if there's no comments, then we'll close hearing. Moving on to item number 12, approval of resolution number 2025-09. Board approval of resolution 2025-09 establishing a special tax for police protection services for fiscal year 2025-2026. We need a motion for approval.
Making a motion to approve the resolution number 2025-09.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 13, public hearing, water standby availability charge. This is a public hearing for water standby availability charge of $30 for fiscal year 2025-2026, open hearing. Were there any written comments?
None.
Okay, thank you. Right now, I invite to the podium any verbal comments or questions from the public. Any questions or comments? All right, thank you. We'll close the hearing. Moving on to item number 14, approval of resolution number 2025-10. Board approval of resolution 2025-10, establishing water standby availability charge for fiscal year 2025-2026. We need a motion.
I make a motion for board approval of resolution 2025-10, establishing the water standby availability charge.
My second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 15, public hearing, sewer standby availability charge. This is a public hearing for sewer standby availability charge of $15 for fiscal year 2025-2026. Open hearing. Were there any written comments?
None.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'd like to invite to the podium any verbal comments or questions from the public. All right, if we have none, we will now close the hearing. Thank you. Item number 16, approval of resolution number 2025-11. Board approval of resolution 2025-11, establishing sewer standby and availability charge for fiscal year 2025-2026. We need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution number 2025-11.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. We'll move on to item number 17, public hearing, road assessment charges. This is a public hearing for road assessment charge of $150 for fiscal year 2025-2026. Hearing open, and will it now acknowledge any written comments?
There were none.
Thank you. At this time, we'll invite to the podium any verbal comments, questions from the public. Okay, if there are none, then we will close this hearing. Thank you. Item number 18, approval of resolution number 2025-12. This is for board approval of resolution number 2025-12, establishing road assessment charge of $150 for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Need a motion?
I make a motion, board approval of resolution 2025-12, establishing the road assessment charge.
My second.
Thank you. We have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Item number 19, public hearing for delinquent charges. This is a public hearing for collection of charges and penalties for water, sewer, and solid waste charges that are delinquent for the following properties in Exhibit A under Fund 50391, and direction from the board regarding placing charges on the 2025-2026 Kern County property tax roll. We consider this hearing open. And acknowledge any written comments. Were there any written comments?
None.
Thank you. We invite to the podium now any verbal comments or questions from the public. That would be the time.
This is you.
Yes.
So I don't know what to say about it. I purchased the property in February. I brought my realtor with me and the other realtor's husband to represent. I don't find it fair that I'm responsible for someone else's charges. I feel like that should have been handled with the CSD before I took possession of the property or before escrow had closed. I don't feel like I can pay the $500, close to $500 of usages that I didn't use.
Sure, Madam Chair, I can try to, so I'll give you some background. I did just, speak at the Tehachapi Area Association of Realtors, Lunch and Learn program that they do, explaining this to local realtors. And, we really encourage them, highly encourage them, to call the district office right before escrow closes to check in and see if there's an outstanding balance that needs to be cleared through escrow. Some slip through the cracks. Some, you know, realtors, you're a state realtor, right? You can sell all over the state of California. And so they don't hear some of the local news and challenges that we have. But the district has to recoup those funds. We do not have the budget to just write those off. We have to collect them in some way. And the services were provided to that property. So the service, the money for those services is due to this district.
Right. I mean, but we also can determine where this resident, who is well known in the community actually, who owned the house prior, by county records, why can't you guys go after him for that? Why is it falling on someone else? It's like buying a car, trading it in, you're upside down in it, and then it falls on someone else. It's like, oh, hey, they didn't pay their bill, so now you got to pay, you know, the extra $1,000 upside down.
Yeah. And I think the board has heard from residents on this topic in the past. It's been a long-standing policy of this district to handle the delinquent fees that way. Right. And we just, yeah. I understand. It's frustrating.
The same thing happened to me when I bought my house. There was a $700 water bill. The best thing you could do is, you had said they have their realtor here? Yeah. Tell them to talk to the person you bought it from. If they're decent people, they'll pay their bill. The problem is it's in the CC&Rs, correct? It's in the CC&Rs, and it says it directly, if you buy a property with an outstanding bill, that you are liable. So it sucks, and we're going to have to deal with it too, but the people we bought from did end up paying the $700 water bill. Right, this person has not still. I mean, I invite both of them to come up and bring it there. Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Can you come to the podium, please?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's easier for those that are watching online. Hi.
When you said we have to come to this meeting here, this district, in order to find whether it's delinquent on that property on the listing meeting, does that all give my list a home in this area to do my due diligence and finding out what is delinquent on that property?
I would encourage both the buying agent and listing agent to pick up the phone and call this district and see if there's any delinquencies prior to closing escrow.
I believe that's on the real estate disclosure form, and both parties, the buyer, the seller, the seller's agent, and the buyer's agent all sign.
Correct, and we did bring that up as far as when we opened escrow, as far as what is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have buyers that are side debit and credit. So our argument is that wasn't disclosed, that amount that was delinquent from this.
Well, the district is not required to disclose that.
Oh, I see. So the only thing they disclose is the CC&Rs?
We disclose that we have CC&Rs, yes, but we're not required to constantly monitor the housing market and be reaching out to potential escrow companies. We don't have the staffing levels and so we encourage the phone call to come in, right? So, you know, it is what it is. We're very, very small, and we operate on a very tight budget, and we can't afford to just let these bills go to the wayside and not be paid. So I encourage all realtors to make that phone call. A couple of days before you know escrow is going to close, pick up the phone. Jenny, who does all of our water billing, can usually come within a couple of dollars of what's due. So to prevent these situations from happening.
And I wanted to see what the process is in regards to that when it comes to anything you said in regards to the property. That was my question that I had in regards.
Yeah, we're more than happy to look up any account right before closing and give you, like I said, sometimes we can come within change of what's due.
And maybe I don't know if Beth ran through that process with clients that were
No, because it's, in 25 years, it's not something that's ever come up with. That's why I'm here, to find out what the protocols are. How we can, is it a common practice to charge new owners for, seller delinquency, which I just found out it is common practice here.
Yeah.
And how, my other question was gonna be, how can we, ensure that something like this doesn't happen again here? Because I do know that other CSDs around, even in this current area, that escrow is stopped. They cannot close escrow until that is paid. But we came here to get an understanding of how it's run here. That way, nothing like this happens again. Now,
Happens a lot.
I don't know who physically, it seems to me that obviously the buyer is the one who's stepping out the back door. Because it's more than likely CSD did not make a mistake. They're not so busy that you let something slip through the cracks like that. But when a human being turns out to be that kind of human being, it is. Now, we have a full understanding because we do sell homes in this area fairly regularly. It just has never come up. We're going to make sure that we're making that call, no matter what side we're on, so this doesn't happen again. It's just a messy, ugly, angering issue for everyone involved.
I think to your point, when you said that the escrow stops, some of the other communities have homeowners associations. That is a big difference.
Because they have an HOA
yes,
also?
yes.
So that makes it.
That's a big, big difference.
Which we don't.
That's good to know. I did not
Right.
know that. You're just a CSD,
We're-
not a.
we're- right, exactly. Exactly. So, and, that would make a big difference when you're working with an escrow company. Because I do know that, yeah, if your escrow fees aren't paid, or if your HOA isn't paid, you're not gonna close your escrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make a big difference. And again, we, a lot of sellers will come in and notify the CSD that, they're leaving the area and they're getting ready to, turn off their services. Is there anything that they need to do? And then on the new buyers too, they should be reaching out to the CSD, not just for this scenario, but how do I sign up for water service? What are your rules with the trash site? How do I get into the trash site? All of those things we have people at our front counter daily going through all of those processes.
Yeah, we went through it with escrow, my client said, the only thing is hit us after the fact, we know.
Oh, okay.
She was very helpful with that.
Okay.
Several times.
Okay.
We were aware of the water issue before it ever closed escrow and saw the paperwork while we were getting it looked over. And we handed them the paperwork and we were told explicitly that, yes, it's been paid, it's all covered, don't worry, it's done. So that becomes a small claims type of issue or something.
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, yes.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, were there any other comments or questions regarding delinquent charges? Yeah.
My questions to anyone in the audience or here that's a real estate agent or worse in the real estate market. I'm a little shocked by this because the seller would have known that something was due. And I thought, and I have bought a house in 25 years. If you're selling property or a house or something to someone that's expecting, I have to tell them everything.
Right.
It's
That's your disclosure form. That's the disclosure that I mentioned earlier.
Or they
Correct.
lied.
Correct.
So how does he not have a recourse to go after the seller?
He does.
It's just not through here.
Not through
Just
us.
not through us, yeah.
If I may, Madam
Yes.
Chair.
No, he fills out tons of forms.
Yes.
So,
He absolutely has to disclose.
Okay, we gotta,
Okay, audience.
so if I may explain the process again, and I believe I did explain it to you. So basically, when a new homeowner comes in, they fill out the paperwork. The old owner leaves, and a bill is produced when it closes. We do not close the account until escrow has closed. And that ensures us from having to do a lot of backtracking when it does not close. So a seller closes escrow, the account is closed, and then the new buyer has that same account number. And that is the reason why we do not close prior to escrow closing. We use the same account number for the new owner. So now the seller has left, we've produced a bill, and sometimes they don't even give us forwarding addresses. Sometimes they do. We will send them the bill. We will send them follow-up notifications that you're delinquent on this. And if we never get responses from them, then that is when we place the delinquents on the Kern County roll for the new owner to pay. Because as the general manager has commented, somehow we have to recoup that amount of money. I hope that kind of clarifies it. This is the CSD's process. It's in our titles, and this has been our process since, I believe, since the CSD has begun. Any questions?
Well, I guess I would be delinquent in not doing my annual spiel here and saying this is one of the reasons I ended up on the board. I can say that there are far fewer accounts since they've tightened it up within the staff on these delinquent bills than there ever were before. There may be a third. But it is a matter of lag in time. And as far as collecting, you can go to, as in the packet here, 61115B, and establish why we have the ability to collect these outstanding bills. It's not fair. I suffered the same thing when I came in. It was only like $20, but it was a matter of principle. So I took it to where I am now. But I guess I'm apologizing that this happens. There are reasons for it. We've tried to make it better, and I think we have. That's where we're at.
Yeah. So we, on our water application, we actually have a section up at the very top, and we make you aware of it. We go over it. We make sure that you are aware that if there is anything delinquent, to please contact your realtor and have that discussion with your realtor and the seller's realtor. Many times, realtors will pick up that tab. It's up to them. But it is a discussion that we have with every applicant when they come in. The initial, making sure that you understand the process, because I can see where we are now, that you're coming back and saying, why am I being charged? And this is the conversation that we have when you fill out the application, so you are aware of it. You initial at the very top, and we encourage more realtors to let buyers know that this is our process. And to be aware of it, and to keep on top of it. We welcome phone calls. Has the old owner paid their bill? If we say no, then we encourage you to, again, speak to the seller's agent so they can speak to the sellers. A lot of people, like I said, don't even give forwarding addresses, and we have nowhere to send them. We have no ability to know where these people have left to.
As a realtor in the area too, you would be able to have your buyer put in instructions on your escrow instructions that the escrow is not to close until all fees were paid. And then that way, that would keep you from funding your...
Yeah, it's just not something that can come up.
Right.
You're here now, we know exactly the Stallion Springs process.
Right.
And we'll make sure nothing like this slips through
Right, yeah, just add,
If,
just have them added to the escrow instructions, and then it will not close until there's something there. Or do you have to have it
well,
closed
the
first?
problem with that, if escrow does not close, then we cannot enroll the new buyer. Escrow
So it
has
would be
to
at
close.
but-
It's
so
kind
they
of a
would pay,
catch-22.
right? So it's on
They
that
have,
day?
they have to close,
Mhm.
and then once they close, then we can close that account, and the new buyer takes on that new account number. So without closing, no one can move forward. The buyer
That's
cannot
the process
purchase.
that we might
Yeah,
visit.
yeah, no, I think, Judy, what Chair Sassett is saying is that the two realtors would instruct escrow not to close until the seller has paid their bill.
Right, but
Then they can close, and then you can assign it to the new buyer.
But we don't close our account, so we don't know what the bill is.
Well, that's what I was saying, if they call, you can come, you can
You
come
can
in
get an
super
estimate.
close.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
You can-
change, nine times out of 10, it's coins
Yeah.
that we can get it
I
to.
mean, you would have, you could say you would borrow would have to pay, or seller would have to pay 24 hours prior to close,
Yeah,
so that you can balance your HUD. That's it.
yeah,
And I'm sure a $20 bill is a lot less
Then 700.
hurtful than the
Yeah.
500.
Right.
Yeah.
If they took a lot of showers that last few days.
And the remedy here is that you can go back to your seller if you can find them.
yeah.
Well, hopefully that can get resolved. That's a hefty bill. Were there any more questions or comments for the public hearing for delinquent charges? Okay, if there's no more, then we'll close this hearing. We'll move on to item 20, which is the approval of resolution number 2025-13, and it's the board approval of resolution 2025-13, approving the financial officer's report regarding the placement of charges and penalties on the 2025-2026 Kern County tax roll for Fund 50391 in accordance with Government Code Section 6115-B. So we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-13.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 21, public hearing inactive water charges. This is a public hearing regarding the collection of inactive water charges for the following properties in Exhibit A of Fund 50393 to be placed on the 2025 Kern County property tax roll. The hearing is now open. Do we have any written comments?
None.
Thank you. At this time, we invite to the podium any verbal comments, questions from the public. Were there any comments or questions? All right, then we will close this public hearing. Moving on to item number 22, approval of resolution number 2025-14, board approval of resolution approving the financial officer's report regarding the placement of water flat charges for inactive accounts on the 2025-2026 Kern County tax roll fund for Fund 50393 in accordance with Government Code Section 6115B. Need a motion?
I make a motion for board approval of resolution 2025-14.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 23, public hearing for inactive sewer charges. This is a public hearing regarding collection of inactive sewer charges for the following properties in Exhibit A for Fund 50394 to be placed on the 2025-2026 Kern County property tax roll. The hearing is now open. Were there any written comments?
None.
Thank you. We'll invite to the podium now any verbal comments or questions from the public. All right, if we have none, now we will close the hearing. Thank you. Item number 24 is the approval of resolution number 2025-15. Board approval of resolution approving the financial officer's report regarding the placement of sewer flat charges for inactive accounts on the 2025-2026 Kern County tax roll for Fund 50394 in accordance with Government Code Section 6115B. Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the resolution number 2025-15.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 25, approval of resolution number 2025-16. Approval of resolution number 2025-16 16, approving transfer of funds unappropriated as of June 30th to various contingency capital reserve accounts and to establish the appropriation limit for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I make a motion for the approval of resolution 2025-16.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for that this evening. I know it's a lot.
The annual June meeting.
June meeting. All right, now we can move on to some good stuff. Let's hit the general manager's report. Thank you, General Manager.
Thank you. Thank you. So I added a few extra things in the general manager's report this month. Our swimming pool opens on Friday. We had lifeguard orientation on Monday. They have a training session tomorrow, and they hit the ground running on Friday. So summer is in full swing. Park and Recreation Department, I'd like to remind everyone that that is staffed 100% part-time and volunteers. And they work very, very hard and do a wonderful job getting programming and funding and sponsorship and pulling off some of these big events that we have coming up. As you know, we just had our very first annual Stallion Springs Horsepower Havoc car show. Like Oktoberfest is a fundraiser for the Recreation Programming Department, the car show is a fundraiser for the Police Department. In 4 hours, we raised just under $4,000. And I have received numerous phone calls from car enthusiasts that participated, flooding us with compliments, and they want us to do more than one a year, which I think my staff will have a heart attack if I ask them to do that. But they had a great time. The food was great. The band was great. We had almost 50 cars, which for our little real estate area, we put them all kinds of places. Anyway, we had some really cool cars. We had a PT Cruiser that was donated, and for $1 a swing, you could hit it with a sledgehammer, and the kids had a blast. That alone raised almost $500. So anyway, it was a good time. We will definitely be doing it annually, more than once a year. I don't know how that's going to work out. But.
What do people have against PT Cruisers?
So what it is that one of the major sponsors for the car show is First Priority Registration, owned by Mitch Abrego, and he has a friend that has a nonprofit organization. They go out and they buy old cars, they rebuild the motor, a lot of times they redo the interior, they get them street legal, street worthy, and they donate them to those in need, mostly veterans. And this one particular car was beyond repair and was going to the scrapyard anyway, and he called me one day and said, I have an idea, what do you think? I said, sign the liability waivers and I'm good with it. So that's what we did. So I have to thank Mitch Abrego for that suggestion and that idea. Back to Kids Camp. Kids Camp is coming up in July. We are sponsored by WM and Terrigen. So that will be a week-long kids camp, a different theme every day, which is great. The kids loved it last year. Animal Day, a sheep randomly walked by my office window, and I didn't know it was Animal Day, so it was fun for me too. Volleyball camp is in the works. We've been seeing a large increase in facility rentals. We really started to promote the Corral Room as a banquet facility. 2 weekends ago, we had a wedding by the lake at Horse Thief Park, and then they came over here and had their reception in the Corral Room. Oh, cool. So we're really seeing a big uptick in our facility rentals. And we're already planning Oktoberfest. It is the 20th annual. So we're stepping it up, and we're adding some things, and it's going to be a toast to 20 years of beer and cheer. And we're already taking vendor applications. So that's in full swing. And so that's just my part-time recreation department. I continue to attend regional-wide community meetings representing Stallion. One that is really becoming important is the Regional Park and Recreation Management. It's the City of Tehachapi, Bear Valley, us, the City of Tehachapi, the school district, because some of their facilities, and we talk a lot about not duplicating programming. We talk about where's our expertise, right? The Park and Rec District in town has a tremendous amount of resources available to them, and they have become experts at 5Ks. So let's let them do 5Ks because that's their area of expertise. And as you know, we don't have the law enforcement staffing and the public works staffing to start closing roads and things like that. So in exchange, they know we have a gym that we need to have make money for us. So after the last meeting, 2 hours later, we were receiving a phone call from a group wanting to do a karate competition. So they have rented our gym on a Sunday, and it's going to be full of mats, and they're going to have a karate competition in our gym. So that'll be exciting. That's good. Been very, very busy with town hall meetings for Measure A. I, again, put the schedule in this month's packet. So please share that. Please attend if you can. The next one is, as mentioned earlier, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. in the Corral Room. It is the first evening weekday option. So it's going to be interesting to see what the attendance is like. We've been trying to come up with a big variety of days and times available, plus they're all live streamed. So please remind everybody about that. Field staff report is also in my board general manager's area of your packet. And you can read through that at your leisure, but they do continue to spray road easements. They're starting to mow now. They repainted the pool, so it's ready to go, and so they've been very, very busy as well. We did lose an employee, a water operator, to another water district. So we're currently interviewing. The Public Works Director and I talked about it, and he really needs worker bees. He really needs those maintenance, basic maintenance people. So immediately we probably will not be hiring another licensed water operator. We're looking at entry level. We could possibly bring in 2 entry-level employees to help increase his staff that is desperately needed. And then last but not least, there is a memo in your packet from our financial officer, Jenny Morris, kind of explaining to you some of the lack of funding that we experienced this year. And the same thing happened last year, where the lack of funds were not available in the road capital improvement to pay the road loan payment. So we had to not pull from that account and pull from the general fund. Because the board approves those, we needed to disclose to you that that could not happen. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them.
Real quick one. Can you go back? It was I believe the bubblers. Is that for the lake? Installed stop starters on aerators.
That's for the sewer plant.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
The equipment for the lake is here.
Yes.
We just don't have time to do it.
Okay. I didn't know if that was the start to starting that. Okay.
No, we had to do the soft starters and the aeration, and that's helping to bring the plant up to state compliance. And we are still in line and hoping that we're going to be receiving at least one grant for the sewer plant as well. So we're still working on that.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Were there any comments or questions for our general manager? Other than thank you, you're doing a great job. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a lot of work.
I'm feeling a little tired today, but thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to receive and file our general manager's report.
I make a motion that we receive and file the general manager's report.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is new business. This portion of the meeting is reserved for directors to present to the board of directors and the public information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. No formal action will be taken. A board member may request that an item be placed for consideration at a future meeting. The board, do you have anything?
Well, I have one obvious question. Why have we been changed to this location for board member comments as opposed to up front?
Oh, this portion?
I apologize, Director Duell. I know you requested that change, and it did occur. I inadvertently used an old template. I inadvertently used an old template. I apologize.
Okay.
Or are we moving it back to the?
Yes, I will make sure it's moved back to the place that Director Duell chooses.
Okay, fine. All right, so just as a side note, just real quick, I wanted to let everybody know that last month, Director Duell and myself were not at the meeting physically, where we were on Zoom, and the reason was because we were at the legislative days for the California Special Districts Association. And it was, I thought it was a great gathering. We got to meet with Shannon Grove, our Senator Shannon Grove, and our Assemblyman Stan Ellis. It was very interesting to me that neither one of them really knew what a special district was per se, and that they were very much interested in helping our district. They both are close enough that live by that I'm hoping that we can get them to come visit our district and get a tour of our district. Assemblyman Ellis was extremely verbal with his assistant in regards to why can't we look into some grants for these people? They need help. So I think all in all, it was a great couple of days, and our time was well spent. So I appreciate us going up there. I appreciate Director Duell going as well. And Director Duell actually presented to the senator and to the assemblyman possibly putting a bill in for a definition of a special district, which there is one federal right now that's going around. What is it, AB 7? I don't remember. AB 76. I can't remember. Anyways, it's been going through the House for quite a while now, and Director Duell brought that to the attention for a new bill to the Assembly member and Senator. So that was great. Thank you for that, Director Duell. Greatly appreciated.
Specifically, I asked both of our legislators, the assemblyman, who was brand new and not versed with politics at all, and Shannon Grove, our senator, to author a bill based on H.R. 2677, which is a federal bill. I headed a letter from the entire board going to our federal representative, our congressional representative in District 20, Vince Fong, to support this bill 2677, which had been introduced in April. That bill is very simply says that it's asking for the director of the Office of Management and Budget to issue guidance to agencies requiring special districts to be recognized as local governments for the purpose of federal financial assistance determinations. So this would put us on a par federally with the kind of funding and grants and taxing that regular municipalities, cities can do, and the county does. It's very important that we have support from our own congressman. It was authored by David Valadeo in a neighboring district. At legislative days, I presented to our two legislators an opportunity to author a similar bill at the state level. So we have all the same cities and counties in California to have access to financial assistance determinations. very same manner, very simple bill. They both agreed that if I contacted them here, they would author a bill in '26. The authoring period was finished 2 days before we got there this year. So it's being put off until then, and if they're still available to participate in authoring a bill, it's kind of handing someone something on a silver platter because it's such an easy bill. Whether it'll pass or not, I don't know, but if we all get behind it and once it gets authored, it'll make a huge difference to the survivability of this special district and every special district in California, Bear Valley as well. So that's that.
Thank you for that. Did anybody have anything else? All right, then we need
If I may, I forgot something.
Yes.
I want the board to understand, and I want to acknowledge Director Stock. He has worked very hard putting a group of volunteers together, and they have been starting some trail maintenance and cleanup. And as the board will recall, annually we normally hire Danny's cleaning service to clean the trails, and I have to bring it before the board because it exceeds the $5,000 threshold. This year it did not, because we could remove some trails off of that invoice because of Director Stock's organization of this group. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, then we need a motion to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.